Hello, good morning everyone.
एग्जाम टाइम है ना मैम, टीचर और स्टूडेंट दोनों की क्योंकि मोस्टली डिपार्टमेंट में वाइवा चल रहा है। हमारे आपके डिपार्टमेंट में भी एग्जाम चल रहा है ना मैम, वाइवा और एग्जाम हर डिपार्टमेंट में। बस जल्दी जल्दी कोशिश कर रहे हैं सर। दिन सर आईटी वाली लाइब्रेरी से और को बुला लो।
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this very warm morning. As it is rightly said by Edward Stanley, those who think that they do not have time for healthy eating will sooner or later have to find time for illness. With these words, I welcome all of the members present in the esteemed audience to this informative, curated, practical, and extremely helpful session on nutrition and diet by our very distinguished guest, Dr. Poonam Jain. Please welcome her with a round of applause. The beginning of this session shall be marked by the lighting of lamp in glory of the Almighty as we move towards a healthy and fulfilling life after this upcoming session. For this, I would like to invite Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir along with our respected guests of the day to inaugurate the event by lighting the lamp.
Adding more heat to the
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Distinguished guests, respected colleague, and dear students, good morning to all of you and thank you for joining us. Good nutrition means good health, and good health is our greatest wealth. It is my pleasure to speak few words on welcoming the delegates of today's session. Nutrition is an indispensable element for the continuation of life in biological organism in different ways and through various mechanisms. After Corona, we witness a significant increase of concern among all of us with respect to our health, nutrition, diet, and especially for our well-being. In this session, our aim is to bring discussion and gain valuable knowledge on a broad range of nutritional issues such as food, energy, storage, what to eat, what not to eat. And for this purpose, we are having with us our distinguished guest for today, Dr. Poonam Jain, who Vice Dean ATSU, Missouri School of Dentistry and Oral Health. Ma'am, we welcome you to the dais. Please join us. We are also fortunate to have with us our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir, Padam Shri Dr. Mahesh Verma ji, and I must say that due to personal effort of Sir, from last 2-3 years we are witnessing so many events and so many occasions. It's like health mela or different kind of health checkup, eye checkup, and recently we also had a metabolism checkup for all of us. And thank you, sir. And like today we had this session on nutrition. So we welcome our distinguished Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Mahesh Verma. I also cordially invite and affectionately invite Dr. Meera Verma, President ICD. We are also pleased to have Dr. Meera Verma with us. Please, ma'am. In continuation, I would like to invite Dr. Yogesh Virmani, Secretary General ICD, who is with us today. Please, last but not least, I would like to invite our Registrar, Dr. Kamal Pathak, to please come on dais. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bestowing the kind welcome, ma'am. Before moving ahead, I request our Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir to welcome our revered guests of the day. Dr. Poonam Jain, firstly, with a floral welcome to convey our deepest gratitude for being present here and bestow our appreciation. Please, sir. We would also like to present a token of our appreciation to ma'am. Further, I also welcome Dr. Yogesh Kumar Virmani sir, and I request Honorable Vice Chancellor sir to kindly felicitate sir. Further, I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir to kindly welcome Dr. Meera Verma, ma'am.
This is a rare opportunity.
Before I hand over the stage to our esteemed guests of the day, Dr. Poonam Jain, I request Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir to please come forth and say a few words for all of us today.
Today's keynote speaker, Professor Poonam Jain, Vice Dean of ATSU University School of Dentistry and Oral Health. Our Registrar, Mr. Kamal Pathak, the President of ICD, International College of Dentists, India, Sri Lanka and Nepal Section 6, the President Dr. Meera Verma, and the Secretary General Dr. Y.K. Virmani. We are missing Mantri today. She is not here. This entire program was done under the leadership of DSW, Directorate of Student Welfare. But we have very two eminent associate directors here, Vandana and Gaurav, very energetic, and they were instrumental in putting it to practice. And I see very distinguished deans here, faculty, staff, and I am missing some. I think there are some students as well. So good morning, everybody. It's such a pleasure for me to be here amongst you. And as Vandana said, that health has been my core competence, and so by some reasons or by some ways, I always get around and bring health to the fore. But I'm very happy and very, in fact, the greatest joy for me that one of my students, who's risen to the level of a vice dean of a university in the US, and she's not the one. There are many others, but I'm very proud of her. That today she is going to be my teacher. Because there was a time when I used to take classes for her, and today I would be learning from her. So this is a greatest joy. You know, what goes around comes back to you. So I think it's the greatest feeling I see a lot of eminent teachers in the audience, that you feel greater joy when your own students, you learn from them. So it's a very nice feeling. And I think we all gathered here today to learn and to talk about a subject which is, very essence of our well-being, a sense of our existence, core of our well-being, isn't it? In fact, every day we read newspapers, we read magazines, and we always trying to find that what is that cookbook recipe by which I can be healthy, isn't it? Today we are all want to be healthy. At least that awareness has come. There was a time, earlier years, then we were surviving, we were existing. Today we want to not only exist, but we also want to be healthy. And today what you eat is what you are, isn't it? Because today you want to be healthy, you want to also live longevity, and also you want to have a good quality of life. If you are bedridden or if you are diseased and if you're not well, I think it's not worth living, isn't it? We always say, oh, he's living like a vegetation, he's in a vegetative state. I mean, you are still living, but you're not healthy. And I think food has been linked to the longevity in our, very scriptures. पुराने ज़माने में होते थे ना कि अच्छा वो वहाँ जंगलों में या कहीं पहाड़ की पर्वता की चोटी पे वो कर रहे हैं, ध्यान कर रहे हैं और कंदमूल खा रहे हैं. You know, have you seen that? What is that kandmul? You know, all the plant-based, all that, that kandmul was actually the reason of their good life or good existence and fighting with disease, and they only existed on kandmul, so you can imagine that how the food was so much important. And today, when somebody falls sick, you, of course, doctor will tell you take these medicine, but I think food is also very integral part. कई बार हम कहते हैं ना, आप अपने देसी हमारे जो नुस्खे हैं, भैया काढ़ा पी लो, ये कर लो, ऐसा कर लो, तो all that, you see, don't you think that food is so integral today in our life, and we not only fuel our body with the food, but we also feed our mind. There are happy foods. जब आप खुश होते हो क्या करते हो? आप चिप्स खाते हो, कोक पीते हो, पिक्चर देखते हो, isn't it? So there are happy foods, which gives you a lot of, creates a lot of good hormones in your body, isn't it? So, and I feel that nutrition is very important, in our life. It also very important to sustain our spirits, isn't it? It is somewhere. It is also linked to our spirits, good spirits. You have a good food, you have a good spirits. But today, we are all running against time. सुबह हमारे पास टाइम नहीं होता, तो टाइम नहीं होता तो क्या होगा? जो भी आपको मिला वो खा लिया आपने. That means you are not choosing your food. There is no choice. You see, when you are unhealthy, या bedridden हो, bread खा ली, ये खा ली, see, we are not looking into the really nitty gritty of that nutrition which you probably need every day. And food is not one-time activity. It's a daily fight which we have to win with every bite, isn't it? You see, if you really look, that heart and food, heart will beat for your lifetime, and food also you will eat for your lifetime. So it is one activity which is cumulative, which is additive, which is cyclic, and which is lifelong. So you can imagine how much effect it is going to have, how much profound influence it is going to have in your body. And today, हम सब लोग बात कर रहे हैं NCDs की, non-communicable diseases. तो कहते हैं ना कि pandemic आ गया NCDs का. Why it has happened? It is because it is a manifestation of plenty. There is so much of a plenty on our plate. Plenty and pleasure. भाई हमें खाना, देखो भोजन और खाने में फर्क है, isn't it? भाई जितना आपको चाहिए वो तो भोजन है, और जो आपको मजा आ रहा है वो खाना है, isn't it? आजकल हम भोजन के लिए नहीं खाते. वो एक सीरियल आता था ना विनोद दुआ का, जिसमें वो सारे इंडिया में घूम के डिफरेंट फूड स्टॉल्स का दिखाते थे. एक और भी आते थे, एक और two brothers थे, so they used to tell us all about the food. So उनका एक टैगलाइन था कि we are living to eat food. We are not eating food to sustain or exist, but हमारा खाना ही जो है वो यो है. So what is that good food? That is a question, and which we are seeking to answers. And what is that food which will not allow us to become sick? Today, food has been linked to all these problems, cancers, all these NCDs, diabetes, hypertension, and all the immune system. See, a lot of food has a potential to bring you down or uplift you. And also, food is also linked not only with our physical health but mental health. Also very important. And you need energy, you need performance, you need to get your act together, and that's also linked to the food. And it's very important that not only we look after ourselves, but we also look after the health of the planet. Isn't it? Today, we don't eat foods which will impact the health of the planet. See, today, we are not only bothered about us, but we are also bothered about the community, the planet. So, and there are a lot of fads today. Isn't it? कभी हम कुछ करते हैं, कभी हम intermittent fasting करते हैं, कभी हम ये करते हैं, कभी हम vegan diet पे चले जाते हैं. बहुत सारी चीजें आ गई ना आजकल, नए concepts आ गए हैं. और आजकल एक और नया concept आया, वो है gut health. वो कहते हैं कि जो आपके पेट में जो कीटाणु है ना, वो डिसाइड करते हैं कि आप क्या होगे, आपको क्या बीमारी लगेगी. तो ये बड़ी चीज आ गई है आजकल, प्रोबायोटिक, प्रीबायोटिक. ये तो हमारे भैया हमें क्या सिखा रहे हो? पुराने जमाने से हम दही खा रहे हैं, है ना, दही खा रहे हैं, छाछ पी रहे हैं, वो सब वो हमारे बहुत खाने में बहुत सारे फर्मेंटेड चीजें होती हैं. ये वड़ियाँ क्या है, पापड़ क्या है, अचार क्या है, ये फर्मेंटेड है. वो फर्मेंटेड मीन उसमें बैक्टीरिया है. वो बैक्टीरिया हमारे जिस्म में जाके वो प्रोटेक्ट भी कर सकते हैं, मैनिफेस्ट भी कर सकते हैं. तो एक गट हेल्थ जो है ये बहुत आजकल बड़ा फैड है. सो ऑल दीज आर रियली ट्रांसफॉर्मिंग अस into health, and ultimately we want to be healthy, but I think more important than healthy is the wellness, feeling of wellness. आप ठीक हो सकते हो, बढ़िया है, but यार वो एक feeling नहीं आ रही, that feeling of wellness. That's what we are chasing today. We want to be healthy, at the same time we want to be we want to be well, and so today we are looking forward to the lecture from Poonam, that how do we nourish to flourish, isn't it? How do we nourish to flourish? And we are all gathered here so that we get that mantras, for optimal health and wellness. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind and encouraging words. A saying goes like, your diet is a bank account, and good food choices are good investment towards your life. And how can we apply this philosophy in our lives can be addressed better by none other than Dr. Poonam Jain. Dr. Poonam Jain is the Vice Dean for Clinical Affairs and Advanced Dental Education at Missouri School of Dentistry and Oral Health, ATSU University. She has an MPH from St. Louis University and an MS and certificate in operative dentistry from the University of Iowa. She graduated with a BDS degree from the University of Delhi in 1991. In addition to her current administrative roles as Vice Dean, Dr. Jain has extensive experience teaching and directing didactic, preclinical and clinical courses for pre-doctoral students in operative dentistry, dental materials, dental morphology, cardiology, community and preventive dentistry, special needs and geriatric dentistry. Dr. Jain has extensive experience in organization and coordination of several community outreach events, including Give Kids a Smile, National Children's Dental Health Month, and Special Olympics Special Smiles event. Dr. Poonam Jain is also a fellow of the International and American Colleges of Dentists and has served on the board of the National Canberra Coalition as chair of the section of operative dentistry and dental materials at ADA, and is a member of the American Dental Association and the American Dental Education Association. Words fall short in praise of such an eminent personality as yourself, ma'am. Without any ado, I invite you to please bestow us with your kind knowledge. Let's welcome her with a great round of applause, everyone.
Thank you. I don't have much left to say after all that Dr. Verma and my kind introducer have said, but I hope that each one of you will leave this auditorium with one or two things that you didn't know before you came. That'll be my sincere hope. You've heard a little bit about me. I'm a dentist. All that I know about prosthetic dentistry, I learned from my professor, Dr. Mahesh Verma. Back in 1985 through 1991, I was his student. So I'm honored, and Dr. Verma, I am beyond honored to be here today. If I can make a good denture, and I haven't made a single denture, and I've made thousands, I haven't made a single denture without invoking Dr. Mahesh Verma. So I owe him all that I know in prosthodontics and dental materials. You taught me dental materials as well, sir. So thank you for this kind invitation, this honor. I'm humbled. I'm beyond humbled. I hope that you get something out of it. With that, I'd like to make this very informal. All of you here, I think, are professors, some deans, some administrators, some students. So with a show of hands, how many students? In the end, we are all students, right? We are all students forever, right? We are all learning, right? But welcome, welcome. We've been fortunate, and to advance, do I just go here? Can you see the slides okay, or is it too light? In the back? Is it too much light? We've been fortunate to travel quite a bit. We are avid hikers. So I'll start here with a short story of our hike to Everest Base Camp. If you've trekked to Everest Base Camp, could you raise your hand? Anybody has trekked up to Everest Base Camp? So in 2014, my husband is also a graduate of Maulana Azad Medical College. He did his MBBS, MD, Chief Residency in Orthopedic Surgery from Maulana Azad. But both he and I, we trekked up to Everest Base Camp. This is a picture from Kala Patthar. You can see Everest in the background. But why I have this here is because the trek is amazing. It's beautiful. So this suspension bridge is at 10,000 feet and it sways. It has all these prayer flags. It is unnerving when you're on this bridge. Some rungs are broken, your foot catches. It's unnerving, and you can see what they call the Dudh Ganga, tributary to the Ganga. Through the steel, you can see the steel, components that make up the bridge. But the reason that's our guide behind me, my husband had crossed it before me. So it was just our Sherpa, our guide, my husband and I. There's only 3 ways of going up. One by foot, which we were doing. One on a mule's back. The mules generally carry every supply that you have up there in the tea lodges in which you sleep every night. It was a 14-day trek. Or the helicopter. So if there's an emergency, that is available, but only for emergencies. Before Tengbeche Monastery and above Namche Bazaar, there are all these kids. And because the trek has become quite popular, the kids come up to you because they know you're carrying, energy bars in your backpack, you're carrying snacks in your backpack. They come and ask if you have any snacks. Myself, a professor of cardiology who teaches diet and nutrition, can be seen here, right? I gave the kids half each an energy bar from my backpack. The kids were happy. My husband took this picture. But who was not happy was the most educated person in that circumstance. Any guesses who that might have been? Huh? I heard somebody here. You said Sherpa? You're right. You're exactly right. The kid's father came out of that red curtain behind the curtain. You opened the curtain, came running out, snatched these energy bars from the kid's hands and said, we don't have dentists around here. We don't have doctors around here. Do you know that this sugar will hurt my kids' teeth? And I, the professor of cardiology, felt this small, right? But why I tell you this story is because it is well documented, and you can look it up, because of the popularity of this Everest Base Camp trek. These kids, now of course youngsters, grown up to some adulthood, for 1.5 kilometers on either side of the trek, there's only one trek route, right? 1.5 kilometers on either side, the rate of dental caries, of diabetes and obesity has gone up statistically significantly in the last 25 years with the popularization of trekking. Why? Because of people like me who thought it was so much fun to share my little energy bars with the kids. But not just because of the tourists sharing their sugary energy bars and such. Each of the tea lodges carries snacks, what we commonly have come to call snacks. They are things in packets. Anything that is in a packet, a carton, a cardboard box, anything that can be kept on a shelf. If that's one thing that you take back after today, that'll be one thing that I would be very proud to have shared with you. These things are kept, and is there anybody in the audience who has had them, or maybe who has not had them? Raise your hands, feel free, because I've had them. Anybody who's not had, biscuits or a little bit of mixture, or anybody who's never had those? No completely sattvic person in this audience. Okay. So most of us of course have those, but it is because of those. What else? One guess. What is sold in the tea shops, tea lodges in Nepal along the trek route, which might have contributed to this great increase in obesity, diabetes?
Carbohydrates.
Carbs, yes. In the form of? There were Maggi noodles, of course.
Processed.
Cakes, yes. You're all right. Sugar-sweetened beverages. What you can drink much faster than even what you can eat, right? Sugar-sweetened beverages, sweetened teas, Tang orange, sold with cartloads full of them, carried up on muleback. That's the only way of transportation, right? Or on men. Men carry those on their backs. So it is just glaring. We cannot prove cause and effect, as all the professors and the students here know. It's difficult to prove cause and effect in medicine, right? In health. But you can see the very strong association. Because in general, a family there, I went backwards, would normally, when they would sit down for dinner, would eat dal, bhat, and the greens. I really don't know their name. We ate them every day for 14 days. And actually, that's what you feel like eating. It nourishes, as Dr. Verma said, your mind, your spirit, not just your body. But this is good stuff, because the rice, the dal, and the greens have complementary proteins and minerals that you need, not to just survive, but to flourish, as you heard from Dr. Verma already. But then with our processed foods in packets, in cartons, in cans, anything that does not rot, anything that can be kept on a shelf, if you can remember that, try to avoid anything that doesn't rot that you can keep on your shelf. Whether they are biscuits, whether it is namkeen or Bikaneri bhujia or whatever that you can keep on your shelf and doesn't rot for a while, is not good for you. It really doesn't like you. But why might that be? Anyone? I'd like to make this very interactive. You don't have to wait till the end to ask questions, so you can make your comments as we go. Why would that be so? Preservatives, yes. Sugar and salt. Sugar and salt, right? We know these things, right? We know these things because of the sugar, the salt, but what else?
Higher glycemic
Yeah.
index.
Well, somebody said fats,
Carbs and fats.
and you said fats, yes, fats. What kind of fat?
Saturated-
Some with palm oil.
saturated fat.
Yeah, partially hydrogenated oils. The worst kind of fat that we can consume, which is actually dangerous for human health, has now been banned in the United States. But you can only ban it when it is going to be added to these products, right? You can ban it, but it is there every time you fry a samosa. You're making partially hydrogenated oils, which is, I'm not here to say don't eat a samosa. I might have one myself right after this, and that's okay. But it must be kept. It must be kept. Every time you put something in your mouth that has been fried, think of trans fat or PHO. It's partially hydrogenated oil. You've created it. Nobody can ban that, right? You can ban it. You can ban manufacturers, and they have banned manufacturers from putting them in donuts or cakes and packaging and selling those. It has been banned because it is so dangerous for human health. But you can't ban pakoras, you can't ban donuts, which people will make at home, and we should have them sparingly. Sparingly means once in a very long while. Sparingly doesn't mean once a day or once a week even. Sparingly means once in a while. In scientific studies, so is anybody here a student or professor of epidemiology? Public health? So in long-term studies, we have once a day, once a week, once a month, and in long-term, maybe once or twice a year. That is sparingly. Once or twice a year. At my mother's birthday, I eat this. At my daughter's birthdays, I partake a slice of cake. That is sparingly. So in any case, trans fats, that was my first message, very dangerous, which we, trekkers, introduced to the trek route, en route to base camp. But today we are here to look at these. We started a little behind time, so so please pardon me because I'll rush through some of these slides. You all know, and there are posters looking at the learning objectives of today's talk, so we'll get right into it. Dr. Verma has already covered this, the difference between diet and nutrition, so I'm not going to belabor it. But diet is whatever you eat and drink. And drink. And if you're chewing gum, that chewing gum is also part of your diet. It is anything that you put in your mouth. Eat, drink, chew. Nutrition it refers to the nutrients that your body needs to grow, to repair, to maintain, for activities of daily life, to be healthy. Health, as again, my professor has already described health, a sense of wellness. Health is not merely the absence of disease. Because by that definition, a lot of us could be counted as healthy. We don't have any active disease. Health is not merely that. It is not defined anymore as the lack of disease or absence of disease, but rather being in an optimal state to do what you want to do. If you want to climb Everest Base Camp, you want to be able to swim, play tennis, run a mile, run 5K, run a marathon, you're able to do it if you try. That is health. You're able to do normal activities of daily life without assistance, right? And feel, a general sense of wellness. So why worry about nutrition? And again, you heard about non-communicable diseases. I'll only look at the major killers, right? The major killers throughout the world. In fact, so much so that instead of infectious diseases such as malaria, non-communicable diseases like heart disease and diabetes and cancer have overtaken infectious diseases even in the smaller villages of Africa, where kids were dying of malaria and we were concerned about these infectious diseases. There was a time when we were really concerned about AIDS, HIV/AIDS. But these three killers on this slide have overtaken the fear of any infectious disease, including COVID. Yes, COVID killed by the millions, right? But these kill more than that on a regular basis and continue to do so before and after COVID. So that is why we're here. We're gathered here to talk about, nutrition. India logged 31 million new cases of diabetes between 2019 and 21. 31 million new cases. So the prevalence of diabetes is about 11.4% in India. You all know that, right? But is that high? I mean, it is more than 10% of us in India are now diabetic. Those are the ones that are diagnosed. The highest prevalence was found, which surprised me, and I don't know, you'll have to inform me why that might be so. It was found in Goa, Puducherry, and Kerala. I'm not sure I know why, but perhaps there are reasons that you're aware of. People with pre-diabetes about 15%, and then generalized obesity about 29%. So about a third, little less than a third of Indians have generalized obesity. About 40% have abdominal obesity. 50% of women have abdominal obesity. So gaining weight around the middle of the body, gaining weight here. And that, for us women, it's easy to do, especially with the hormonal changes, after midlife, that this is where you gain weight, in the middle of the body. And that is this abdominal adiposity. Adipose tissue here is the most dangerous for your heart, for atrial fibrillation, and for strokes. So, remember that, right? That might be one thing to remember. So the relationship between dietary patterns and incidence of type 2 diabetes, again, I looked for statistics from India. This was an interesting study from 2019. They had about 315 individuals, and they made case controlled pairs of individuals who were diagnosed with diabetes and who were not, not diagnosed with diabetes. I won't say healthy. And what they found was there was a very strong relationship, an inverse relationship between adherence to a healthy pattern of eating, a direct relationship with the Western pattern of diet, and type 2 diabetes. So what is the Western pattern of diet? Anyone? What is the Western diet? You see it here. I see it here in Delhi, all around me. I'm sorry? Processed food such as? Pizza. Pizza. What else? Burgers. Yeah. Huh? Coca-Cola. Yeah. I am told that I could not find statistics. I looked that the incidence of drinking sugar-sweetened beverages has gone down. Is that true?
No.
The sales have not gone down. I was able to locate that statistic. Of course, our own, Indra Nui being the CEO of Pepsi Cola, which is a great thing. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of female leadership there. But still, it is a sugar. It is a mixture of sugar, right? There's not one component in any of these drinks that is good for us, right? None. Except if you are dying of hypoglycemia, you might need Coke to survive, Except that one circumstance, there is no one good thing. But yes, so Coke, pizza, burgers, that is the Western style of diet. The convenience diet, right? Cereals in the morning. Does anybody ever eat anything but Dalia? Do you eat cereals like corn flakes or Rice Krispies or fruit flakes or so on? Anybody has partaken? Yeah. So all these are highly processed. So but what does that really mean? What does that mean? What is the difference between, sort of frying your own dalia and making it in milk versus having a cereal out of a box? What is the difference?
Refining it to the extent that it gets processed.
Thank you. You hit the nail on the head. So by refining the wheat germ, you've removed the wheat germ. You've removed the covering of the seed of wheat and the germ, right? You've removed everything that had mineral and protein in it. You're left with pure carbs, pure sugar. You might as well eat a spoonful of sugar, right? You might as well eat a spoonful of sugar rather than eat those cornflakes, because every mineral, protein has been removed from the corn, in the case of cornflakes, from wheat to make the other cereals such as Wheaties. So remembering that, dalia being way superior because it is just cracked wheat, keeps the wheat germ intact. So in this particular study, they looked at the Western diet versus the healthy diet. Western diets included, as we've talked, they included red meats, refined grains, we talked about them, sweetened beverages, processed snacks, sweets, desserts. Hydrogenated fats and butter were in the Western diet. Please don't take this to mean that you can never eat again a pakoda or you can never eat again butter. In small quantities, butter might even be necessary. But the word small, which is subjective, but we all understand what small and excessive, the difference there, right? Healthy diet included white meat, vegetables, whole foods, and low-fat dairy. I'd like to make a big distinction. We were talking about yogurt, and yogurt being probiotic number one. You don't need to eat probiotics in a pill if you can eat dahi. But let's make a big distinction because they have really tarnished dahi or yogurt in the Western world. And it is heartbreaking. I am now a grandmother, a very proud one, and it is heartbreaking to see that little kids who don't want sugared stuff are still given yogurt. On the face of it, it is a good thing, right? But if it is flavored and has 17 grams of sugar, please read the label. 17 grams of sugar in a small packaged cup of yogurt. It is no longer just a probiotic. It is a sugar solution. Dangerous for human health. It is actually dangerous for human health. So please remember the sugar that hides everywhere. And because I'll be shortening my talk, I'm not sure I'll get to it, but this is a good video if we can get it to play. And if not, that's fine too. Right? Hold on. It was a good video. It would have highlighted the point that I was trying to make about processed foods and cartons, cans, things that don't rot on your shelf, things that are loaded with sugar, which is hiding inside something that is normally good. If you have lassi, that's very good. But if it is loaded with sugar, remember the impact of that sugar. If it is loaded with salt, which I happen to have myself this morning, I asked for lassi without sugar. The salt was excessive. Excesses, taking the middle path, as Buddha said, avoiding excesses on either side. Too much sugar, too much salt. Taking the middle path with a little sugar and a little salt. So, Sugar Intake, Obesity and Diabetes in India by Gulati and Mishra, published a little bit ago, 10 years or so, 2014. And they're talking about main meals, snacks, beverages, and other things that have sugar. Sweet chutneys, pickles. And I didn't really realize, but most pickles have sugar in them, especially the ones with, for example, lemon, right? Nimbu, amla, all these sour things. A lot of sugar has to be added to make them sour and sweet and sour, right? So remember the overload of sugar because you're eating chutney and amras and a murabba or, something like tomato ketchup. And you might not even recognize that tomato ketchup is loaded with sugar. Pizza sauce is loaded with sugar. Pasta sauce has sugar. Maggi noodles have sugar. So these hidden sugars might be the cause of the epidemic that we're seeing. And I really like this here, which I chanced upon. 50 years ago, the Sugar Research Foundation in America, which was a lobby for corn growers, for farmers, because sugar there is now made with corn, right? Since the mid-1970s. Sugar is made from corn rather than from sugar cane or beets, because they make high fructose corn syrup, right? Anybody here a dietitian? Dr. Verma, we have a school of dietitians here? No. But, so sugar can be made, generally it is made with sugar cane or beets, but it can be made and is being made from corn, which is heartbreaking, but high fructose corn syrup is sugar. The sugar industry quietly paid scientists to point blame at fat. So we all know that, we should eat low-fat dairy, low-fat this, low-fat that. Everything is low-fat or reduced fat. But 50 years ago, in 1967, there were studies that were published showing that the impact of sugar was much worse than eating palm oil or ghee. The Sugar Research Foundation was quite successful, and they employed none else than Harvard. At the Harvard School of Public Health, one of the most reputable institutions, you know that if a publication comes out of Harvard, the government trusts it. Government policy, after all, as we all know, is based on scientific publications from reputable universities. So they asked scientists at Harvard to do a meta-analysis of published research on the effects of sugar and discredit the impact of sugar on health while elevating the risks associated with fats. While elevating those risks. And the Harvard scientists only had to cast doubt on the studies that showed that sugar was culprit number one. I'm very happy to report that a colleague of ours, a dentist, Dr. Kristen Kearns from the University of California at San Francisco, was instrumental while she was doing her MBA. She was instrumental in uncovering and studying these old documents. You know, it's rare nowadays to go to a library and look up these paper documents, right? You only look at what is already scanned, already on the internet. But she actually looked up these old documents, these communications between the Sugar Research Foundation and Harvard, and did a historical analysis of these internal industry documents and showed us, in secret what they had done. In essence, the Sugar Research Foundation, they sponsored this project in 1965, which was a lit review. It was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, one of the two most eminent publications in medicine, the Journal of the American Medical Association and the New England Journal of Medicine. This was published in NEJM. It singled out fat and cholesterol. And from that point on, starting after this publication in 1965 till now, 2024, about 60% of all men in the world are taking drugs to lower cholesterol. Because they said cholesterol and fats were killers, number one. And they downplayed the role of sugar in heart disease because of the paying off by the sugar lobby. They didn't pay them. They funded their research. They looked at every draft of the publication. They approved the draft of the publication that cast doubt on the impact of sugar on heart disease. So, very concerning. After talking about diabetes and then looking at heart disease, looking at cancers, cancer cases that are attributable to death. Generally, we don't think of cancers being, linked to diet. We think, there's some sort of a, it's an error. It's a genetic error. Some cells start growing errantly and don't stop. But 5% of all cancer cases in the United States, 30% of cancer cases in European men can be attributed to diet. Diet alone. Here in India, as you know, 25% of all cancer is what? What kind of cancer? Oral cancer. 25% of all cancer is oral cancer because of? And? Betel nut. Betel nut is an independent risk factor for oral cancer, not just the tobacco. So betel nut and tobacco, they're independent risk factors for oral cancer. But 15% of all that oral cancer can be prevented by a good diet. And that may not be commonly known, that you can actually prevent oral cancer by eating a good diet. What is a good diet that might have a protective effect for cancer? Anybody? What might be that good diet? What is that magic? What is the magic pill that you and I can take to cast that protective influence?
Mediterranean diet.
Huh?
Mediterranean diet.
You're on the right track, yes, Mediterranean diet. What exactly in the Mediterranean diet?
Which is
Vitamin C, fruits, antioxidants, yes, we're all getting warm. So yes, they're all part of the Mediterranean diet, which is high in whole vegetables and fruits. But you have to consume some raw whole vegetables. Raw whole vegetables. And I'll repeat this again. Raw whole vegetables. Which means you must eat some moolies, radishes, carrots, tomatoes. And I'm jealous because I love kakris and it's hard to grow them there. But you have kakri, and I don't know what that is called in English, but kakri, you all know kakri, right? And kira is a cucumber. What is a kakri? Whatever it is. Those have to be eaten raw and whole. But they've tried. In America, I think all over the world, not just in America, people like magic bullets, people like little pills. So they put beta carotene from carrots in pills. They took antioxidants from berries, beta carotene from carrots, and made pills. And they were unable to find a protective influence of those pills on oral cancer. We don't exactly know the mechanism, why the carrots that are rubbing against your oral mucosa, when you're chewing the carrot or the kakadi or the mooli has a protective influence? We don't really know. But we know we cannot replicate it by putting it into a pill. But I ask you, is it so difficult to eat? I actually enjoy them myself, so perhaps it is difficult for some. My bias is I actually enjoy eating raw whole, but raw and whole. So remember that, not cooked, raw and whole have that protective influence. 374,000 cancer deaths each year can be attributed to low fruit and vegetable intake, but it must be whole. Fruits and vegetables. And here, right now in India, we went to Corbett, and you might wonder in these temperatures, but actually they were very pleasant in the morning. In the evening, we were at Corbett. We just returned last night. We just went for 2 days, and on the way, the orchards that are laden with mangoes and lychees and jamuns were amazing. So you here in India have God's greatest bounty. In mangoes and lychees and jamuns right now, raw, fresh and whole. So please partake of them to get these benefits. And this table, and if you like, I'll leave it with you. It comes from canceraustralia.gov. This is really fantastic. If you look at the dietary fiber in food, they give you the source of information. The evidence is convincing for protection against colorectal cancer. For esophageal cancer and oral cancer, the evidence is rather limited. The evidence is there, but rather limited. Fruits and vegetables, non-starchy, which means no potatoes included in this particular group. Probably good evidence for oral cancer, protection against mouth, which is oral cancer, pharyngeal, laryngeal, esophageal, stomach, and lung. For lung, fruits only have that protective influence. So anti-cancer drugs in the form of raw whole vegetables and fruits that we have in plenty, right? But not to make aam papad out of them or to make mango shake out of them. Not to make whatever else, amras or whatever else is made out of mangoes. No mango shakes. To eat it whole and raw. Does that make sense? Any comments? Or anybody want to add more to that? I'll say one thing. Ayurvedic medicine, which I'm very interested in, talks about cooking and cooking vegetables. They don't say much that I know about, at least, about fruits. Eat your fruits raw and whole. Eat some vegetables raw and whole. And of course, we'll cook the majority of them. I'll take up some nutritional myths and try to talk about them, and I'll go a little fast. Low fat or no fat foods and drinks are better for my health. And again, this came directly after that 1965 Harvard publication. Why is this a myth? And I please don't want anyone to leave here and say, from today onwards, I heard this talk and I've seen the evidence and I'm going to eat all the ghee I want. But within reason, good ghee is good for you. Sparingly. Within reason, it is good for you. Much better than the PHOs or the partially hydrogenated trans fats that you find in fried foods. Much better. But think about this, we are avoiding ghee as if it's culprit number one, right? At the same time, we don't seem to be avoiding seviyan, which are fried, or laddus, which come from fried bundi, or whatever else is fried, right? A lot of things are fried. We don't seem to be avoiding those. But we avoid ghee as if it is culprit number one, right? And we go to everything that is low fat or reduced fat or no fat. Please.
There is a confusion with regards to the temperature. Like air fryers are marketed like crazy over here, which typically have a temperature range of 180 to 220 degrees Celsius versus the McDonald's French fries, which are fried at 280 to 300 degrees Celsius.
Mm-hmm.
So what temperature does the denaturation of the fat occur? Is there a study or is there a research pointing out to that?
Yeah. Very good question. Very good question. So the question is, at what temperature does fat start hydrogenating?
Or is it the repeated frying as we see in the open market where the fried food, low cost food is on sale?
Yeah. Very good question. Very good question. And I'm not sure that I'm an expert to give you that answer. But a very good question is there a relationship between the temperature or repeated heating of the oil used to fry foods? I'm not sure at what exact temperature and whether air fryers will prevent hydrogenation, but you heat fat oils and they hydrogenate. At what exact temperature that process starts and whether repeated, frying will cause more hydrogenation, it probably will, but I'm not going to stand and say I would know the exact answer to that technical question. But avoid within reason, again, take the middle path, right? Whether it is an air fryer, and by the way, those are much the craze in America everywhere. In fact, Dr. Verma, it was my pleasure to host Dr. Verma for 5 minutes at my office in St. Louis. He was there momentarily with Dr. Meera Verma. We have an air fryer even in our own lobby at the dental school. They're everywhere. It's much the craze. But I would beg to suggest that it is just that. It is not that you can consume all the fried foods you like just because they are now being fried at a lower temperature with that oil and it won't get, hydrogenated. It might get partially hydrogenated or less hydrogenated. The mantra is sparingly. Eat those fried things. I'm not going to give up eating a samosa, but I will tell you that I do try to eat them very sparingly. That is the mantra I leave you with. And I'm sorry I didn't have the technical answer to your question, sir, but we'll look at it.
I have another question.
Go ahead.
What is the linkage with respect to the gut microflora and the association with carbohydrate intake versus the fibers? Excellent question. We'll come to that. We'll come to gut microflora. Dr. Verma already talked a little bit about the microbiome in our guts. And now you're seeing food and mood. And if we are able to get to that part of my presentation, I have food and mood, the relationship with what's in your gut, the bacteria in your gut. Basically, we're talking about bacteria because there are 700, 800 types of bacteria that live in our mouths and our guts, right? And elsewhere in the body, but mainly in our mouth and our GI tract, right? The bacteria in our gut, the friendly bacteria, we need those bacteria to be able to digest and get nutrients out of foods, right? And your question is, what is the relationship between carbohydrates and gut microbiomes? The answer is, I'll discuss it right now since you've asked. So we'll go out of order and talk about it for a moment here. The question is wonderful. What does sugar, what do pure carbs do to the gut microbiome? The simple answer is they promote the growth of the unfriendlies. We all know the term unfriendlies. Sugar promotes the growth of unfriendlies. I use the term sugar for simple carbohydrates. Monosaccharides and disaccharides, not polysaccharides, not long chain carbohydrates. I'm not talking of potatoes or sweet potatoes. Eat your potatoes within reason. Eat your sweet potato or shakarkandi within reason. But I'm talking about mono and disaccharides, which is your table sugar, which is in your cakes, in your cookies, in barfi, halwa, laddus, the mono and disaccharides. Those suppress the good bugs and promote the unfriendlies. You need the good bugs to be able to extract what you can from your dal, from your white meat, from your atta, from your roti. The atta still has flour, still has some wheat germ, right? It has some protein left in it. But in order to extract the maximum possible in nutrients, you need the good bugs. Mono and disaccharides in excess will suppress them. Worse than them even, I don't know how much worse, but equally dangerous are the artificial sweeteners. Because you raised that question. They're not carbohydrates. Artificial sweeteners have 0 calories. And you've seen sodas now being sold, right? Coca-Cola, Pepsi, 0 calories, 0 sugar, 0 calories. But they're still sweet. Because they have what is the artificial sweetener of choice in India? Is it aspartame? Aspartame and xylitol? Cyclamates, sucralose, yeah, sugar alcohols. Those are the artificial sweeteners. And later down, if we get to it, I was going to discuss all that. But the artificial sweeteners are perhaps even more dangerous for your gut microbiome. So please avoid, if you're going to drink your tea and you're avoiding real sugar,
You might as well have a little bit of real sugar or real honey rather than an artificial sweetener in the form of aspartame or cyclamates or sucralose, because that is even more dangerous for your gut microbiome. It has other big dangers associated with it, but the question was about gut microbiomes. Did that help? Thank you. So low fat or no fat drinks and foods are better for my health. In America, I was trying to take a picture, but I was stopped. In fact, I was stopped quite forcibly. They don't like taking pictures of their aisles. They don't like people taking pictures. So I've taken some surreptitiously, but it's not a good thing to do because if you're caught, they don't like it. In any case, the aisles are filled with low fat, no fat, reduced fat. Everything is no fat or low fat, even ice cream. Where's the point? You might as well eat cardboard, right? I mean, ice cream with no fat. It's not very satisfying, right? They're everywhere because of that publication. Because the United States Department of Agriculture, in the dietary guidelines for Americans that it publishes every 5 years, said reduce the amount of fat in your diet. It only needed to say one sentence for the industry to pick it up and make everything low fat, no fat or reduced fat. Fat free. It had a sentence on sugar. After the Harvard publication, that sentence was scratched before the guidelines were published. So you don't see as many low sugar things. Everything that is low fat has to be made tastier, right? In some way or the other. So how do they do it? They add more salt or more sugar. If it is low fat and it is low fat yogurt, it probably has 24 grams of sugar. I invite you to take a look at the labels. I've been here now for 5 days in Delhi and I've been looking at labels. Your labels also now report added sugars. So your labels also tell you how much sugar there is in the bhujia or whatever else you might eat in a packet or a carton. So please look at the label. And I won't belabor, the USDA guidelines for what the fat must be less than 0.5 grams per serving to call it fat-free, less than 3 grams or less per serving to call it low-fat, etc. Those technical definitions. You get the idea. So fat-free foods are really not trouble-free because they add sugar, salt, sometimes more flour to compensate for the lack of taste. And your brain satiety centers are not satiated by eating those low-fat foods. You might eat more low-fat ice cream because it doesn't taste as good as the real fat stuff, which you might eat 2 teaspoons of and say, that was good, I'm done. That was good, and I'm done. So there is a lot to be said for our ancient scriptures that talked about the sattvic lifestyle, right? But please remember that they were very wise. They said once in a while, you should be rajasic. Eat some cake, eat some samosas. Once in a while, you should be rajasic, or even, what's the third one? Tamasic, or even tamasic. It's okay. And they recognize this and they talk about it in great detail. Nobody should be purely sattvic. You must have some chips once in a while. You must have a sugared lassi or whatever sugared drink you like once in a while. You have to have all 3 gunas. But most of your life, if you spend in the middle, the glow, the sense of wellness that you get is what, is the long-term benefit. So fat-free is not trouble-free. I won't belabor this much, but it's very interesting. If you look at on the left side, let's look at, the second from the top, reduced fat chocolate chip cookies. 3 cookies have 118 calories, but regular 3 cookies chocolate chip have 142 calories. That's not a very big difference in calories, right? These are reduced fat, but obviously loaded with sugar. Fat-free vanilla frozen yogurt has 100 calories, but regular whole milk vanilla yogurt has 104 calories. What did we achieve by taking away the fat? We made it fat-free, less satisfying. We just reduced 4 calories in the same amount. So this is eye-opening. This is eye-opening. I never thought of these things till about 12 years ago when I really got into the field of nutrition. This is eye-opening that low fat actually has the same or higher number of calories because of the sugars. That's quite amazing. So choose the good fats. out of these, so this is a quiz, out of these 4 kinds of fats, you know the answer because we've been talking about them. Monosaturated, polyunsaturated, saturated, and trans fats. Which are the good ones? Polyunsaturated, you get, pat yourself on the back, you're all right. Which other? Consumed commonly in India. Monosaturated is also good. So your, single seed oils, canola oil, sunflower oil, which are used very commonly in India, are mustard oils, and single seed oils. Single seed oils, monosaturated, are still good for us. Used sparingly. As Dr. Verma said in the introduction here, take what you need. But before you're completely full, push away from the table, say, I've had enough. The saturated fats and trans fats are dangerous, enemies for mankind, right? So monounsaturated, and you find them in peanuts, which are my weakness, pistachios, almonds, olive oil, we talked about single seed oils, polyunsaturated, fish, rapeseed oil, corn oil, walnuts, pine nuts, sunflower seeds, saturated oils, we all know, fatty meats, processed meats, hard cheeses. And I do like hard cheese myself, but again, keep it to a minimal, as a treat. Whole milk, cream, ice cream, butter, ghee, palm oil, coconut oil, trans fats, and we talked about the partially hydrogenated oils, snacks like biscuits, cakes, pies, pastries, margarine, fried foods. Nutritional myth 2, and this may not be so true here, I don't know, but you'll inform me. Real sugar is good, high fructose corn syrup is bad. But real sugar is good, so much so, this is so widely held in America that we're now importing Coca-Cola from Mexico, which is made with the real sugar, sucrose. Because all Coca-Cola, all drinks in America are made with high fructose corn syrup. Because we grow corn, and I live in a small town in south central Illinois, and there are corn farms, beautiful corn farms all around me. It's heartbreaking that that beautiful corn field, some is of course used to, feed animals, but a large part of it is made into sugar, high fructose corn syrup, which is enemy number 1. What you see, that syrup on the right is high fructose corn syrup, sugar, very thick. You can't even clean it from the floor, it's that thick. But the myth is that real sugar is okay, table sugar is okay, it's the high fructose corn syrup that is bad. Who thinks that there might be truth in that? I'll quote Dr. Mary Nestle, you know the Nestle companies, right? But Mary Nestle is an heir to that. She's a professor of nutrition though at New York University, and she says, sugar is sugar. Just remember, sugar is sugar. Your body doesn't care if it came from beetroot, if it came from honey. Oh, honey is pure. Bees make honey. We've had honey 1,000 years ago. We did. But sugar is sugar. Whether it comes from corn or honey, your body recognizes that as that sugar and processes it as sugar. So that's what is sugar, and we've talked about mono, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. I won't belabor it. Sugar is the simplest form of carbohydrate, short chain. Starches, then potatoes, sweet potatoes, the long chain, and then fiber. That's the good carbohydrate. And where do we find fiber? We need fiber to live. We need fiber to be healthy. One of the largest forms of cancer, colorectal cancer, cancers of the stomach are related to, and you saw on that slide, not enough fiber. Other simple things like not having good digestion, constipation, etc. Other diseases these days. And a lot of allergies that we're developing, and then they seem to come and then a person recovers, like gluten allergies, etc. Again, have been linked to a lack of fiber. It's a carbohydrate, long chain. Where do you find fiber? Raw. Raw fruits, raw vegetables, yeah. Raw, fresh, whole foods. So it's important that we eat good fiber every day. Not in a pill. They make pills with fibers. But in actual form, right? Raw, whole food. 45 to 65% of our daily calories still should come from carbohydrates. And I put this in there because lest we start thinking we need to all be on low carb diets. When we say low carb, we should really relabel that and say low sugar. Low sugar. But there are good carbs like fibers that are essential for human life. So we shouldn't really say low carb and cut out all the raw fruits and vegetables. Fruits are sweet, but low sugar diets is what really is one example of a takeaway from this talk. I'll talk about intrinsic versus extrinsic sugars really quickly. Intrinsic sugars are those that are within the fruit. What you're eating these days in lychees, mangoes, and jamuns that are loaded on your streets right now are amazing, beautiful carts loaded with them. Sugar is intrinsic to these fruits. Extrinsic is what you add. It is now outside the cell structure of the mango. It is what you would add on top. Added sugars are extrinsic of the cell structure. What happens when you take a mango and make mango shake out of it? The sugar is expressed from the cell and becomes extrinsic. When it is intrinsic, it is locked in fiber. And that might be one more thing to take away. Intrinsic sugars are inherently good for us. Otherwise, you wouldn't eat a mango, you wouldn't eat any fruit that is sweet. It has sugar, but it is held within the fiber. Some will be expressed, but the glycemic index is very low. You were talking about glycemic index. You can eat an apple. That same apple, you can squish it and make apple juice. If I eat an apple and you drink the same as juice, we measure our blood glucose level at baseline and we measure blood glucose level at 15 minutes and at half an hour at an hour. The blood glucose level of which person is likely to rise higher and spike up? With the juice. With the juice. Why? Because we have expressed the sugar from the fiber. We have subtracted the fiber altogether. I get into this big debate with my husband, who's a physician. What is the difference between juicing? You take a fruit and juice it, right? Versus our just chewing the fruit in our mouth. What's the difference?
High fat content in the whole fruit.
But what if you take the fruit and put it in a blender and juice it?
The concentration of the sugar increases
It breaks down the cell wall.
from the solid it gets into.
Well, we're not adding any extrinsic sugars. We're just taking an apple and eating it and taking that same apple and squishing it, or taking a mango and eating it.
Of the fiber is
You're removing the fiber from the sugar. That's it. You're removing the fiber that is locked. This is a good F word, fiber. Sugars locked in fiber are good because a lot of it passes through the gut and doesn't go into your bloodstream. Once you make it apple juice or ganna juice or whatever juice, it's out of the fiber. Your blood sugar spikes up and stays up for a while. Plus you have no benefit of the fiber. You might have removed it by putting it through a strainer. You might even eat it and think I'm doing a healthy thing, I'm eating the fiber, but you've removed the sugar from the fiber. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's the big difference between juicing. So please try to eat it like nature gave it. With the peel, with the fiber, eat it raw. Eat it whole. The only good extrinsic sugar, which is out of the fiber, is milk. And because we're mammals, we're designed to drink milk, right? I hope all of us were breastfed, and I hope we all here who are in that age group will breastfeed our babies. Because that is the purest form of nutrition. We're designed to thrive on our mother's milk, right? We're designed to thrive on milk. We're mammals. Non-milk extrinsic sugars are bad for us. The only exception is the milk extrinsic sugar, lactose. Because we're designed to be mammals. The sugar in lactose has been shown even to be protective against dental caries. So that's why in Corbett National Park, you really don't have elephants running around with dental caries, even though they breastfeed for 2 years. Because lactose doesn't promote caries. Lactose is the only extrinsic sugar in real milk, not milk which has vanilla and chocolate and whatever other flavors and sugars added to it. Real milk, just milk. Just milk. So that's the only, my students have started calling NMES, the non-milk extrinsic sugars, enemies. And they call them Dr. Jain's enemies. NMES or non-milk extrinsic sugars are our enemy number one. In fact, I had divided the class into groups for debate, and two groups wanted to call themselves enemies. NMES, non-milk extrinsic sugars are bad for us. Milk is the only exception there. So we've talked about juices and fruits, whole fruits, and the difference between the two. There's a very popular drink in America. It's called V6 or V8. They say it has 6 vegetables. I think now they 8 vegetables. V8, V6. Yeah, and it's juice. And they put, you can put spinach and whatever, all these vegetables, beautiful vegetables on the label. They make you look so happy. They make you feel happy. Remember, they've crushed them. They've broken the fiber. Nature must be cringing. I gave you something good and all you did was crush the fiber. And you hope to reproduce its health benefits. So please eat those 14 vegetables, perhaps one at a time, but don't rely on juices.
In contrast, would psyllium husk gold, or what is known as ESA gold commonly, be a good replacement for fiber for cellulose?
It has never been shown to be. That's a very good question. The question was in the form of a pill, ESA gold, would it be a good substitute for fiber? It never has shown to be. And it has been sold with many different brand names and still being sold. Now, of course, if somebody is really sick and they're hospitalized and they're unable to digest whole foods and whole fruits, it's okay, that you have to get to a state where you're able to eat raw whole fruits and vegetables. Then it's okay. It's a good aid for such persons recovering. But if you're able to digest whole fruits, it's not a good substitute. We have not been able to put those fibers into a pill.
What about bran? A lot of people use bran into the food.
I'm so glad Dr. Verma's question came up. What about bran? What about bran? So it is, you're taking the fiber from the wheat germ, right? You've separated it. Now we'll put it back. So it is fiber. The bran is fiber. So it is better than not having any fiber. But it would be better if it was in its natural form, like cracked wheat or dalia. Right? Does everybody understand when I say dalia, or is it? Yeah. Okay. I bring it up all the time. It is sold. It is called bulgur in America, and they sell it in coarse, medium, and fine refinements. You can buy it coarse or medium or fine, but there the bran is still on the wheat germ. If you can buy some wheat from a local farmer, excellent. I would do that. If you cannot, then it is second best to put bran in. It is fiber, so it is better than nothing. Right? Did that help, sir? Was that? Okay. I won't get into this. This is added sugars and artificial sweeteners. I think we kind of covered this. Added sugars is added risk. So I would invite everybody who is here and who I didn't put to sleep, I would invite you to think about next time you want to pour sugar into your drink or your yogurt or anything, or you want to put honey or any other form of sweetener, ask yourself, do I really need more sugar? Is this going to be nourishing for me? Or is it going to be stored as extra fat? Is it going to raise my blood sugar and my insulin levels? Then be stored as fat? Is it going to do more harm? Is it going to do any good? I would invite you to ask yourself, after just a few weeks of eating less sugar, I'll promise you that. I've done this with many. And students of mine, faculty, suffer from sugar withdrawal. In fact, if we have time enough left to get to that part of the lecture, we'll look at how the brain changes with sugar. We get addicted to sugar. There's actually sugar withdrawal, much like heroin withdrawal symptoms. So it takes a few weeks to get used to eating low sugar in your diet. But once you get there, the feeling of lightness in your body and mind is unparalleled. I invite you to try it. Try it. I don't know if this slide is clear, but this is the American Heart Association's guidelines, which say that under the age of 6 months, children they shouldn't even touch sugar. I know they say you should, give them a bit of honey, they should lick honey. Maybe they can lick honey once, but no more. Children should have then, 3 teaspoons of sugar, no more per day. How much sugar in 1 teaspoon? How many grams?
2.5 grams.
No. 2.5?
Yeah.
Is that generally? Who said that? I'm sorry. Who said that? I'm sorry. Yeah. Is that generally accepted here?
Yeah, that's what the teaspoon.
Okay. Maybe our teaspoons are bigger, but in America, generally we say 4 grams to a teaspoon. 4 grams to a teaspoon. So for these purposes, 4 grams to a teaspoon. Our teaspoons might be bigger. You're right, the teaspoons here are smaller. Now that I'm thinking, yeah. So for you, you can do the math, right? No more than 3 teaspoons for kids, for adult women and teenagers, no more than 6 teaspoons. I invite you to think about this. If you drink 1 20-ounce thing of soda, or orange juice, or any juice, or sweetened yogurt, you've had more than 6 teaspoons already. You wake up in the morning, have sugared tea, and put a little bit of jam on toast, you've had more than 6 teaspoons and your day hasn't even started. This is the guideline. For men, adult men, no more than 9 teaspoons of sugar a day. So think about if you had 2 cups of tea or coffee with sugar in them, and toast, and jam, you're already at 9 teaspoons. And you've just finished breakfast. Or maybe not even finished breakfast yet. If you're going to eat a parantha with some murabba or some achar with, especially nimbu achar with sugar, you might exceed before breakfast 9 teaspoons. It's that easy to have these sugars. You can eat pizza and think, well, there's not sugar in it. She said fat's okay, a little bit of fat's fine. Oh, and this is made with whole wheat crust. But think about the fact that even the pizza sauce has sugar in it. Read the labels. Because they have to report them. So again, this is telling you that there are 15 teaspoons of sugar in a 20-ounce Coke. 15 teaspoons, 15 teaspoons in 1 20-ounce Coke. 15 teaspoons of sugar. And if you're drinking 0 calorie, 0 sugar Coke, you're drinking aspartame or whatever. If you're drinking the Mexican kind, you're drinking real sugar. 23 teaspoons of sugar per day is what an average American has. I could not find, I looked for the statistic for an average Indian, I could not find that statistic. Does anybody know what an average Indian might consume in terms of sugar per day? I have a feeling, based on no scientific studies, observation alone, that's not very different in big cities, at least in Delhi. It may be about the same. Dr. Verma, would you differ? Probably about 23-ish. Yeah? It's not very different. How am I on time? Do I have a few more minutes? Wrap up? Okay. Effective in July 2018, America required manufacturers to report added sugars. People like me, and if you can look up my publications on sodas, regular sodas, and energy drinks, regular energy drinks, diet sodas, diet energy drinks. I was very excited that now people will look and say, oh, this has 400% of the daily recommended value of sugar. I'm not going to touch it. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. People don't seem to turn the bottle or the can around and look at the label before eating or drinking. That didn't happen. Some do. Most don't. Look at the label and say, oh my gosh, this has 20 grams of sugar. Thank you. I don't need it. That didn't happen. We hoped it would. This is what I was talking about, the structure of the human brain. It reacts the same way to sugar on the left as to cocaine on the right. The same areas of the brain light up to sugar as to cocaine and heroin. It is as addictive as cocaine and heroin. I couldn't play the other film. I hope I can play this one. This is a very good film, and I put a small clip. This
computer software and this software
doesn't match?
This is not your computer.
No.
So it must be
Okay. I'm going to leave you with the name of this film. Even if you just watch the trailer, I'm really disappointed that I couldn't play it. I apologize. I don't know why it doesn't play. It's called Fed Up. Has anybody seen Fed Up? With Michael Pollan, Bill Clinton, Katie Couric narrating. Fed Up. We can probably pull it up on YouTube. Can anybody pull it up on YouTube? YouTube will have Fed Up. Just the trailer.
point out from your presentation and present it separately.
Or YouTube. I mean, YouTube will be easier and they'll have it.
Extended screen just extended screen. The time
It's fine.
Anyway, it's okay, just run this on YouTube.
Yeah. How do you have to find it? Okay. While they're looking for the video, which is fed up, I'll go on to the next. Yeah, fed up movie. It'll pull up the trailer. We get to see the other Bollywood movies that are popular. Some professor was searching them. Actually, the internet is slow. Sure, we won't belabor it. We'll go back to the presentation. Time हो जाएगा ना? Yeah, that's it. This is it. This is it. This is it. The sound? Oh, we don't have sound.
mic को नीचे
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. No problem. We can escape our this. Go back to the car. Where is the no problem.
We estimated much worse.
The message that's been pushed on us is
The epidemic here is worse than previously estimated, much worse.
the message that's been pushed on us. It's your fault you're fat.
Shouldn't be so hard to get them to run around and play, right?
They have voracious appetites and they don't exercise enough.
It's about how active our kids are.
Forget about it. There are 600,000 food items in America. 80% of them have added sugar. Your brain lights up with sugar just like it does with cocaine or heroin. You're going to become an addict. You end up with one of the great public health epidemics of our time.
This is the first generation of American children expected to lead shorter lives than their parents.
I am 12 years old and my doctors have said that I am a statistic.
We're blaming willpower, and it's a crime.
Over 95% of all Americans will be overweight or obese in 2 decades.
We're toast as a country. The sugar industry is extraordinarily powerful. They're in business to make money, not to keep America healthy.
What if our whole approach to this epidemic has been dead wrong?
The government is subsidizing the obesity epidemic.
To place private profit ahead of public health. Systematic political failure.
By 2050, 1 out of every 3 Americans will have diabetes.
Those diseases are being driven by sugar. This is the fundamental problem nobody's talking about in society.
We could cure 80% of the problem where they prepared the food in the school.
Tomato paste is a vegetable? Really?
Junk food companies are acting very much like tobacco companies did 30 years ago.
I would reject entirely any argument that they are in any way harmful.
Lying through their teeth.
Kids are being told the biggest lie they will ever hear in their lives.
Ronald McDonald never sells to children. He informs and inspires through magic and fun.
If a foreign nation were doing that to our children, we would defend our families.
Years from now, we're going to say, I can't believe we let them get away with that.
We have to change the diet of America.
It's all preventable.
One of the key takeaway messages is that this is not, after this talk, this is not individual willpower alone that'll change public health or our health as nations, as citizens of the world. It's not just individual willpower. Yes, we need that. Yes, we need to push away when we've had enough. And yes, we need to, before we eat anything that is fried or sugared, ask ourselves if we really need it. But we need systemic political will to change what is sold, what is subsidized. And you heard about subsidizing the American epidemic of obesity, of diabetes. It is because corn growers, farmers are subsidized. Much of the corn is converted to sugar. Here, of course, I think much of the sugar comes from sugar cane. And I will not pretend to know, I don't know how much farmers are subsidized or not. That being a different matter altogether. Still, we need to educate our children. What they watch on television is not regulated when it comes to foods, cereals, Maggi noodles, or the other junk that is actually poisoning us. And that is what you heard, maybe 50 years later we'll all say, what did we do? Our children are expected to live shorter lives than us. I'll say that again. It has never happened before in human history that the next generation is expected to live a shorter lifespan than us because of the epidemic of fast foods, sugars. Nutritional myth 3, then diet drinks are better for me. I think we've talked about that enough, and we've talked about artificial sweeteners already. But dietary patterns matter. This study looked at diet beverages and cardiometabolic risks in a longitudinal study in young adults. They called it the Cardia study, young adults. And they had a number of individuals in this study. They had a 20-year cohort of young adults. So it was a prospective trial looking ahead, right, for 20 years. And they had an N of 1,778 in the prudent diet and an N of 2,383 individuals in the Western diet. What did they find? That dietary patterns and the consumption of diet drinks, diet Coca-Cola, diet Pepsi, diet this, diet whatever, are both correlated with metabolic risks. They're correlated. Those who are on the Western diets also tended to be those who were drinking more diet beverages. It's not uncommon to see somebody eating a big burger or a big slice of pizza and a diet drink. But those are related to cardiometabolic risk. Diet drink consumption associated with an increased risk of vascular events, coronary artery disease, stroke, heart attacks and strokes in the Northern Manhattan study, diet soft drinks. So these are sugarless. How are they related to increased cardiovascular risks? How is this happening? It has to do with the overall dietary patterns. And those that favor diet drinks are generally, more or less eating the Western diets, not the Mediterranean diet we were talking about earlier. So what experts really think, if you look at this, about diet sodas, those are dangerous. It's a marketing gimmick. It has made it worse than the real sugars. The Time magazine published the skinny on diet sodas, looking at why diet sodas are so dangerous. One, you overdrink them because they're diet, they have 0 calories. 2, you don't feel full. Because they're so sweet though, your insulin goes up. So they're very dangerous for us. And the last myth, fruit juice, all juice is good for me. A myth. And we talked about why. The F word, fiber. So I'll end here. I won't take too much more of your time. But if you have another question, I'd like to ask somebody else who hasn't asked any before you, if that's okay. Anybody have a comment, a question?
I have one.
Please do.
Powder milk. You have not talked about that, but we often use that purposely. It is tasty, but it has got sugar. What is your view? Just like Parle and various big companies
I think the question is, are you trying to compare powdered milk to real milk? Yeah. But there is added sugar in it.
Yes.
I think you've answered your own question. The poison that we have discussed for the last hour or more is sugar. So, and is it because of are you worried about the purity of regular cow milk, etc., or the availability of pure cow milk that you would go to powdered, or?
It's actually
commonly used in India. But how? What kind of risk?
Oh, for coffee and tea,
yes.
The powdered substitute. Yeah, that's a very good question. Again, the answer lies in the dairy whitener is powdered milk, and then there are non-dairy whiteners which have no milk, no dairy. They're just purely chemicals, very dangerous, very dangerous. The dairy milk is powdered milk, but it has added sugars. So once in a while, if you cannot keep milk, if there's no fridge in your office, you cannot keep real milk, once in a while. But the answer is, the definition of once in a while is when nothing else is available. Not every day, not twice a day. I would avoid that. It's empty sugar. And you saw what it does to your liver, to your insulin, to your pancreas. Very good question. Thank you. Did you have a question? No. Yes.
Medical science says that craving for salt is acquired, not innate. So can we do it without? Is it indispensable or dispensable?
Salt?
Salt.
Oh,
because we have focused our attention on sugar, not on sugar.
True. And you're exactly right. We focused our attention mainly on sugar, but I was very short on time. This could be a semester-long course, right? It generally is a semester-long course on diet and nutrition. We try to do it in an hour or so. But you said the craving for salt is acquired. The craving for sugar is more or less acquired. It's an acquired taste also. Both are essential for life in small quantities. We cannot live without salt. You'd go dizzy. You need salt for human metabolism, right? That's why normal saline is what, a 0.9% solution of salt in water is normal saline, which you give as a drip when somebody is dehydrated. So some salt is essential. Right. But when we go overboard and load our lassis and everything else, chips with salt, yeah. So I think the craving for extra salt is acquired. But some salt, even in Corbett National Park, we just saw yesterday, an elephant will go to a salt lick, and it's hot, so they go to the salt lick and lick salt. It's essential for life, some salt. Yes. I hope that helped. Yes, thank you.
Thank you much.
Thank you.
What an enriching and informative session it was. It was nothing short of our great pleasure to have you amidst us today, ma'am. Can we please have another round of applause for ma'am? Now, I would like to invite Dr. Kamal Pathak sir to present the vote of thanks.
Before Kamal comes in, Kamal.
I'm here.
Yeah, Kamal is everywhere. So, really want to thank Poonam personally I happened to meet her a couple of weeks back while I was in US, and I invited her. I said it'll be a pleasure for us. I was in a big debate to hold this lecture here or hold it in an East Campus, because we all are privileged lot. Every time we have activity here and we deprive them of any such lecture. So, but then I was debating, but then finally it happened here. I actually wanted to expose her to another campus also, because she's come here before, and when I went to their university, so she showed me another campus. So I also wanted to impress her that I also have another campus. So
I would like to tell you, I am beyond impressed by the beauty of your campus here. I am jealous.
I must say that again, it is not, it's not, they say self-recommendation is no recommendation. But I have had visitors from US, including my son and daughter, my daughter and son-in-law and others. And when they go around, they said that you have a feel of an American university. The kind of ambience and kind of setup we have, it's nice campus, and it does because American universities have really wonderful campuses, very large, spread out, self-sufficient, and gives a very different. We are very lucky to have that, and there's another campus and one more campus. God wishing, we are also planning to set up in North Narela. We've already we already bought, in fact, a 22-acre land, and so hopefully, I'm sure with everybody's blessings, we will do that. But I'm very happy. See, whatever Poonam lecture today, many of us we already know, isn't it? But if we're all human beings, isn't it? We tend to forget, and chalo koi nahi. Have you seen एक picture आई थी प्राण और उसकी शौकीन, तो प्राण और एक और थे उसके साथ अशोक कुमार, है ना? तो उसमें they both are elderly and under medical care, but they were shocking, they were very shocking. So every time they will have what they were not supposed to have, they used to say, I'm sorry Dr. Gupta, but I am having it. So we all tend to forget, and we say, okay, so we need sensitization. We need strokes, to again wake us up. No, come on, please look for the added sugar. The moral of the story, I was listening to a lecture, and I was thinking, see, are we not going back to basics? जो आज हम 50-60, because मैं तो गांव में रहा हूँ, मैंने चक्की का आटा पीसा भी है और खाया भी है. आज हम सोचते हैं, आज हम ये जो डेवलपमेंट क्या है, actually this development is taking us back, and I'm really shocked to hear a statement that हमारी जो future generation है वो हमसे कम, they are going to die as faster than us. You see, we know हमारी families में elderly लोग होते हैं, they live for 90s, 97. हम कहते हैं ना, इन्होंने पुराने घी खाए हुए हैं, ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, हम कहते हैं इन्होंने पुराने घी खाए हुए हैं. So just imagine, we are going back to basics. वही हमें आटा वही चाहिए, हमें वो भूरे वाला आटा चाहिए, हमें रिफाइंड आटा नहीं चाहिए, हमें वही शक्कर चाहिए, वही हमें जागरी चाहिए, वही गुड़ चाहिए, है ना? हमें वही तेल चाहिए जो हम सरसों से निकालते थे, है ना? कच्ची घानी कोल्हू से निकालते थे. Just see, we are going back to basic. Because we had shikanjvi, isn't it? Nimbu pani. Today we are again going back to nimbu pani. It is supposed to be, see, isn't it? So everything we are going back, isn't it? So somewhere this modernity which has come to us is actually taking us back, isn't it? It is really impacting us. So thank you for sensitizing us, enlightening us, and it's always nice. I know many a time we hold lectures which are again speciality or specific subject oriented. This is one subject where everybody is interested. because everybody is interested to know what to do, what not to do. So thank you. Over to you, Kamal.
Thank you, sir. Please get
No.
when I was on dais, so I was thinking I'm the only person is a doctor, non-medical doctor. All other doctors. Madam, I thank you all. And Madam ने जो बातें बताई, first of all I thanked Dr. Poonam Jain, Vice Dean, Missouri School of Dentistry. I have pronounced it correctly, I think. I thank Missouri. हमें तो सर हमें तो मसूरी पता था. I thank Dr. Verma, Meera Verma, President ICD, Dr. Yogesh Virmani ji, Secretary General ICD, and above all I thank our Vice Chancellor Professor Dr. Mahesh Verma ji. I thank all deans, directors, professors, teachers who are available here. And first of all, and last but not least, providing me opportunity to be here. मैडम की बातें सुनी मैम, दो चीजें समझ में आई. गाजर मूली दोस्त है, चीनी हमारी दुश्मन है. अच्छी बात जो बताई उन्होंने, ये सबसे अच्छी बात थी. जो थोड़ी दिल को धक्का लग रहा था कि समोसा नहीं खाना, भटूरा नहीं खाना, तो she has given you options sparingly. Thank you. With all, thank you very much, ma'am. Thanks you all. Thank you.
I also want to appreciate International College of Dentists. Actually, they were planning to hold a lecture somewhere else. It is me who arm twisted them and ensured that it happens here. So thank you, Meera and Dr. Yogesh Vermani. I want to tell you what is this International College of Dentists all about. This is the oldest dental organization of the world. It was established in early 19th centuries, and it is present in more than 160 countries. They award fellowships. They do a lot of humanitarian work. Its headquarters is in US. ICD headquarters was, it used to be close to Detroit first. I think it's still there. Yes, Detroit. And it so happened that my daughter was in Detroit, and once I drove about 100 miles to go and see the ICD headquarters. So it's a very big organization, and they have I think how many members? 12,000 fellows all over the world. And our section, which is of 3 countries, India, Sri Lanka and Nepal, is one of the section 6 is called section 6. It is one of the very prominent sections, because we do a lot of activities, and they're really impressed that how do you manage. We do award ceremonies, we give scholarships, we give fellowships, with merit awards to the meritorious student, and also recognize all those professionals who have done exemplary work, professional work, humanitarian work, and they also do a lot of humanitarian work. So thank you, Yogesh. I know they're all busy practitioners, isn't it? And it is very difficult to bring them in here, but thank you, Meera and Yogesh, for your august presence.
Now that we have come to an end of this beautiful event and beautiful discussion, before you all leave, I would request that you all may please rise for a group photograph, and I request all of our guests to please come here.
No, they keep sitting here.
Okay.
We'll just stand there so that we can capture everybody.
With your permission, I have to add one thing. So you just now said you got them arm twisted and get them here. How to get arm twisted? Please teach us.